Thank you, and I thank the gentleman from Nevada for yielding. Mr. Speaker, it's time to end this shutdown. The absurdity of it begins with the fact that we are now going to pay people for not working. We need to bring them back to work to provide the services and do the work that they're being paid to do. Mr. Speaker, this shutdown is really not based on reality. Some who've said, some apparently believe that if they just stay the course and keep the government shut down, that they'll be able to repeal or substantially undermine Obamacare. That's not going to happen. And so we're not based on reality. Now they're blaming Democrats for not negotiating. But there's nothing to negotiate. But we're talking about the budget. The Republicans came in with one number. The Democrats had a higher number. The Senate decided not to negotiate, but rather accept the Republican number. So we're in agreement. There's nothing to negotiate. Now, in the 1990s, when they had a disagreement on the budget, there were profound differences in the spending levels and tax and revenue levels. They couldn't agree on the budget. But we, at this point, at least for a short-term 6-week continuing resolution to keep the government open for at least 6 more weeks while we can negotiate, we've already agreed on the number. Now, the problem we're in right now is we just cannot reward people who have a tantrum and say we voted 40 times to repeal Obamacare and we haven't done it, so we're just going to shut the government down. You cannot reward that behavior, because there will become an expectation that every time there's a end of the fiscal year and you need a continuing resolution or the debt ceiling, there will be an expectation of reward. Now, note, this is not the end of the process. This is just the beginning. We're just talking about a 6-week continuing resolution. 2 weeks from now, we'll have the debt ceiling. 4 weeks after that, we'll be at the end of the 6-week period if we can reopen the government. They will be asking for things. Now, the fact is, the problem that we have is a recent article in Nation magazine. They revealed the strategy of the Republicans. They made a list of the kinds of things they will be looking for in the continuing resolution, the debt ceiling, every time there's an opportunity to shut down the government. And here's the list. They want to undermine Obamacare, Keystone Pipeline, offshore drilling, corporate tax cuts, business-oriented tort reform, sabotage Social Security and Medicare, undermine clean air EPA regulations, cut back on consumer protections, and end net neutrality on the Internet. Now, I suppose that after they've gotten the list, they'll say, well, we'll be reasonable, we'll negotiate. We'll only take half of the things that we don't have the votes to pass. We'll just take half. No. If you get to the point where there is an expectation of reward, then we'll be in that. Suppose the Democrats had thrown in maybe gun safety, marriage equality, immigration reform, and a jobs bill, and we're sitting up here trying to do the budget and have to do all of that and all of those and think we're going to ever come to a resolution. We have to have a clean so that we can reopen the government without all those complications. Now, back to Obamacare that seems to be provoking all this problem. The fact is our health care system was in trouble. The rates were going up, skyrocketing year after year after year. The problems with our health care system were not caused by Obamacare. Obamacare is trying to cure the problems. We had a gentleman earlier today say that people have looked at the rates, and some are paying a little more, and some are paying a little less, and some about the same. If that's the case, that is a miracle, because for the last 50 years, rates have been skyrocketing, going up much faster than inflation. So if they've been anywhere close to even, that would be a lot less than it would have been had not we had Obamacare. Now, we have the situation where it's affordable. Those with pre-existing conditions, people under 26, can stay on their parents' policies, insurance reforms, preventive care provided without copays and deductibles, donut hole, on and on. This is a good deal. It will be much better than before. Another gentleman earlier today said, well, if you just eliminate the individual mandate. Well, the individual mandate is in every policy, because if you're going to cover pre-existing conditions, you cannot allow people to wait until they get sick before they buy insurance, because if that's the case, everybody will wait until they get sick to buy insurance. Everybody with insurance would be sick. The average rates would go through the roof. If you look at what happened in New York and the rates there, you can reasonably estimate that if you provided that exemption, the cost of insurance would double on the spot. So we can't have. So we need to just proceed. If you want to improve Obamacare, let's talk about improving it. But in the meanwhile, it is not going to be repealed. It's not going to be undermined. And this idea that you can keep the government open piecemeal by having one agency at a time is absolutely absurd. Passing those bills would only serve one purpose, and that is to perpetuate and extend the shutdown. Now, the fact is that they don't have the votes to repeal Obamacare. They don't even have the votes to keep the government shut. If they called a vote, we'd reopen the government. We just want an up or down vote on reopening government. We've had several votes so far, procedural votes where we could have reopened the government, or at least have an up or down vote on reopening government. And as the gentlelady from New York pointed out, there are enough Republicans who are on public record as saying they would vote yes to give a clear indication that more than a majority of the House would be voting in favor. And so I want to thank the gentleman from Nevada for bringing us together. Obamacare is an important, it's very important advance in health care. It will cure all the problems they're talking about, and we don't need to reward anyone for shutting down the government or threatening the debt ceiling or shutting down the government in 4 weeks. We need to just reopen the government, and then we can have intelligent discussions about what to do about the budget. I thank the gentleman for yielding.